Hello everyone, this is Augustus Caesar and phone calls. So I gotta answer the phone and it's now nighttime and a day and a half later. But I just want to finish the other half of this video. So where I last left off, I was talking about masteries and generic masteries. And actually I figured out that word. I was on the tip of my tongue. It was optimize. So having rune pages specified a certain champion really optimizes their performance. And so do masteries. And that's kind of what I wanted to point out, that instead of just having cookie cutter or generic rune pages and masteries, if you really think about it, if you really tailor your runes and masteries to the champion you're playing, take the time and effort to do that, you can really get an edge over your opponent. And then the second to last thing I want to go over is champions. So champions is also an advantage that you can obtain. So for example, if you know the matchup or if you know which skills you have to level up. So for example, I know that I used to just max out certain whatever skills that guides told me to, like, oh, you want to max out Q or you want to max out W. Like for example, some long time ago, guides told me to max out condemn on Vayne, and then double lift kind of pointed out that condemn is kind of the all or nothing skill. If they don't stand next to a wall, you're not going to do any damage. So he prefers to max out Q. So there. So I didn't really think about it. I just listened to what guides told me, and that kind of ruined me as a player. So this is a little tidbit, but guides kind of do that to players, and the large majority of players, they kind of tell players what to do, and players just listen to it without thinking much of it, or they explain it for you, which I think is the most interesting part about League of Legends, is that you can learn a lot about the game, but that learning is only fun if you teach yourself. It's not any fun if someone else teaches you, because it's really like an epiphany moment. Like you really figure out, like, oh, this is why this is good, or this is why this champion got nerfed in this patch. Little things like that. So for example, champion advantage is something you can do with your skills or your matchups. For example, if you know how to play a champion in a certain way, then you can punish other champions or other matchups for playing it incorrectly. So for example, if Zed uses his W in lane to clear a wave, and then so immediately you punish him for using his W because he subtracted extra damage output when you engage, and he also doesn't have his escape anymore. So junglers and things and the kind can really punish other champions. And another one thing I want to go over is advantages. I thought more about it, and advantages is kind of punishing the other opponent for not doing something. So for example, if you take an early wolves, it's kind of an act and react. So you're really punishing the opponent for not doing something when you act. And that's how you want to take control of the game. It's when you act and you do something, you take control of the game, and you don't give them a chance to react until it's too late. Yeah, but this doesn't include other things. So for example, if you put in the extra effort to communicate with your teammates, that's an advantage you're getting, and it's available to everybody. So it's not something like rune pages where you have to pay up front to get that extra advantage. It's really something that you have to put that effort in yourself. And once you do that, it's really all up to your teammates and the things like that. And so really, League of Legends is a game about punishing your opponent for things that they are or aren't doing. And so it really is a act and react kind of game. And so another thing so you really want to do things that are available to you. So for example, information is available to everyone. It's equally available to everybody. Everybody has access to this kind of information, or well, you should, since you're on a computer and you're playing League of Legends. So for example, if you gather information about your opponents or your matchups, then you're preparing yourself some more, and preparation is also an advantage that everyone can gain. So it's not just a matter of, oh, blue side is OP because they can do golems at level 1, or whatever side is OP, I guess. So if you gather up information, it kind of gives you an edge. If you understand the cooldowns, if you understand how the player is going to play, then that kind of gives you an advantage in that direction. So information is really important, but information also takes a long time to collect. So for example, I didn't start the game out looking up every single champion I played up in League of Legends Wiki. I just eventually played the game so often or so many times that I remembered the cooldowns by heart, I guess you could say. But the thing you have to try not to do is don't psych yourself out. I know a lot of people will be tempted to low king other players that you're playing against to find out, oh, what was their elo last season, or what was their rating last season, and what champs are they playing most popular. Well, like if for example, the other day I like third picked Aurelia and they hadn't picked their top lane yet, and they picked Singed against me, and then later I only got 3 league points from that game, but I looked at everyone's elo and everyone's elo is the same as mine, and that Singed player I played against, he played 55 games as Aurelia, and so I was pretty freaked out. If I hadn't picked Aurelia by luck, then he would have gotten Aurelia and probably would have stomped me. But other than that, collecting information is really good. So you really want to think about what's good and what's not. So collecting information, another a really really important point about collecting information is when you're in game. When you're in game, collecting information is the most important thing you can do. Which is why so many players on streams, like professional high elo players on streams, they always press their tab button. I still don't press the tab button enough myself, and I wish I did more often because I probably die more than I should because I don't press that tab button. Because collecting information is knowing what your opponent has, and that goes down to runes and masteries. So really high elo players can tell just by looking at the stats, or sometimes when a champion just walks by, they can tell, oh, this guy's running movement speed points, and so it kind of puts that knowledge in their head, so they know how to play. So you don't ever want to be surprised by anything. So for example, ever since I started playing the game, one of my friends who's really good at the game, tell me like, he would tell me this, oh, this guy isn't running like these runes, or like he's running these masters, and I was always thought like, how do you know that? And you just look at their stats. You just look at their stats, you scroll over it, you instantly tell. So, for example, if you don't see Rise mid doesn't have any armor, you can tell he's probably running mana regen or something, or health per level. Or if he doesn't have any AP, or if you check his movement speed, if it's a little higher than it should be, then it tells you running movement speed points. So you can kind of adjust your play to that. Which is why I kind of, now thinking back on it, it made so much sense why people got not clairvoyance, what was it called? That eyeball thing, whatever. I forget. People like don't ever use it anymore, so I don't even know what's called anymore. Clairvoyant? No, not clairvoyance. I think it's clairvoyance. Yeah. That's why clairvoyance is so important. So because you'd see what runes they were running, and so if you spotted them before they spotted you, or however it works, then you could like check the runes and buy items to punish them for it, for example, or something like that. And so collecting information is a huge part of the game. You should always be pressing that tab button. You should always be checking in what they have, because every time they come back to lane, especially if you're playing a solo lane, because it's so snowbally, because things can go either way a lot of the time. So you really want to, because you're going to be 1v1ing the other laner, so you really want to check what they have and the items that they have, so you can make sure, like, oh, like if someone buys a red pot, you don't check their items, they're going to come back with a red pot and they're going to poop all over you because you didn't predict them having that extra 100 HP and like 10 attack or something. So this is the second part of my episode 2, and I'll be coming out with more episodes more often, hopefully, and I have a lot of material out there, so hopefully you guys are learning from this. If not, tell me what you want to learn more about. If anything doesn't make sense, let me know, and if you like what I'm doing, share it if you want, and subscribe if that's what people do. Thanks.